So we got day one, CrossFit Games is all finished up. I'm just kind of running through kind of leaderboard, just kind of thoughts and surprises and some reflections after the first day of competition. Just starting off the men, top five, like Roman Krenikov, like seeing him in first, not really a big surprise. 21 points ahead of Jay Crouch, who's in second, but kind of from a true competitor standpoint, he's 75 up on Cornier, 78 up on Fikowski, what is he, 83 up on Patrick Vellner. So I think he might be in white for the rest of the competition at this point. Last year, a lot was said about Justin Medeiros just being Mr. Steady, but Roman Kretikov was also top 10 in 10 out of 14 events last year. His worst event finish was 15th. So again, like for those other guys to step up, they're going to need to have some event wins, but they're also going to need to have some people between them. And I guess just day one, there's a lot of big question marks in the air that I don't know if there's going to be enough people who are on their game this weekend to push that. Second place, Jay Crouch. I'm really happy to see him up there. This is his fourth trip to the games. So before this, he's had two fifth place event finishes in those 3 years. And to see him with a third and a fourth coming in this year, hopefully like this is his breakthrough year. We've got Spencer Pandrick in third. Like he's somebody who just really snuck in last spot out of North America East, so it's good to see him up there. And then Moritz Fiebig, kind of a big surprise there. Last year at his rookie games, he finished 36th. He only had one event in the top 10, so to see him, put together a solid day with the 7th and the 5th and the 19th, it's good for him there. Then I guess Fikowski, he had a pretty solid day. Like I kind of expected a bit more from him on the inverted melody. He finished 23rd. Again, just something like with these guys who've been around forever, they've had obstacles thrown at him. Maybe he's a bit too calculated to just mess around in the gym and do some pullovers, but bit of a surprise there for that. Patrick Vellner on day one, like 27th in the first event, which kind of like that's actually a good start to the day for him. He's not in too big of a hole. Climbed up to 8th place after day one, which was kind of what you expect from him after this point. And then it was kind of fun to see some of the rookies, like Bailey Martin. Looks like he's the top rookie in the group this year in 11th. So exciting to see from him on the big stage this year. Just give him a little bit more. Like he just missed the games last year. Just the strongman event kind of threw him by the wayside. Jeffrey Adler, he's kind of a bit of a surprise. Like he came out guns a-blazing in the first event, finishing second. But to see him come back with a 25th on event 2 with that pig in high rep gymnastics, like that just one of those question marks that we saw today. And a 15th, so middle of the pack type of finish for him in event 3. So not really what we expected after day one, but again, he's still positioned to finish well over the course of the weekend. Scrolling down a bit further, you got Lazar Duchik, 18th. He has had an up and down day, 35th in the first event, followed up by a second, then back again with the 22nd. Interesting. We'll see if he can recover tomorrow and put together a few steady finishes or steady event finishes. See if he can jump up to the top 10 for the third year. Big surprise, but for me, number 20, Colton Mertens. When all these events were announced, I really did not expect him to be able to make it to Saturday. So to see him positioned in 20th after the first day, good for him. Like last year in the bike event, he was mid-30s. So to see him up at 23rd, I don't think he's finished above 30th in a pig flip event. 22nd for him today. So there's hope to see him over the weekend. 22nd, kind of the big storyline for today. Justin Medeiros, I'm sitting there. So, prior to 2023, hasn't had an event finish outside the top 50 or top 20. So to see that he's got 2 so far today, bit surprising there. He's recovered well. Having that second place finish really vaulted him up in the standings. I think he's probably feeling a lot better about himself in the competition, being up to 22nd after day one. Kind of a saved it all for him coming into that last event. And then just sliding down, getting close to that cut line. You got some names that really are surprising to see here after the first day of competitions. You got Cole Sager, 29th, Jason Hopper, 30th. You got Sam Quant, 35th. So like these are all guys that we would be expecting much higher. Hopper and Quant were definitely guys I think could compete for a top five. Like Quant was fourth last year, so to see these guys so low down on day one, really bit of a surprise from an overall standpoint. On the women's side, Lexus Raptis leading the way. She 24 points up on second place, Emily Rolfe. So Raptis sits at 270 points after the first day. Again, solid day for her. 3 events in the top 5, which is again big step over last year when she only had 3 events in the top 10. So good progress for her. Last year she finished 4th in bike to work, so 5th on the bike event this year. I thought like a good strategy piece for her is like she's the only athlete that I saw who had a water pack on the event. So for 4 events to be hydrated through it, maybe that kind of gave her a leg up on everybody else from a recovery standpoint, coming in 3rd on the chipper and 5th in the inverted medley. So surprise for her. Emily Rolfe, she was one of our people to watch or wild cards going into this weekend on the women's competition. So she did end up coming down with an injury at Wadapalooza, but people forget that she was leading that competition going into event 5 before she came down with that injury, ahead of Paige Powers, who eventually won it, ahead of Emma Carey, who won North America East semifinal. So to see Emily Rolfe position well, the bike was going to be a good event for her. She finished 2nd, but the pig chipper, lifting heavy hasn't always been her strength. So to have a 12th there should be good. So it'll be interesting to see how the alpaca suits her with the legless rope climbs and ski bag. Depending on what the sandbag weights are, she should do all right there. You got Area Low in 3rd, Emma Lawson 4th, Annie Thorsdottir 5th. So again, kind of those 3 names, all people who would have expected in the top 10. Then just throwing through, you got Bethany Flores. She's in 6th, so great to see her up there. She obviously has top 10 potential. We expected her to be top 10 in 2021 before she went down with COVID and missed those games there. Laura Horvath at 7th, Paige Powers at 8th. Again, after her win at Wadapalooza, a lot of people expected her to really climb up the ladder. And then some returnees, Katrin Davidsdottir and Jamie Simmons rounding out the top 10. So again, fun to see all these wide range of athletes up there after day one. In 11th place, Danielle Brandon. Again, similar to Meadows, kind of saved her day with that event win on the handstand or inverted medley. Just absolutely kind of crushed the field there after 2 21st events. Someone else I'm excited to watch going into the weekend, 15th, Christine Kohlenbrander. Bike wasn't great for her, but to see kind of back-to-back solid finishes for her with the 7th in the pig chipper and the 11th in the inverted medley, it really kind of shows a bit more well-roundedness for her. Migala in 16th, kind of a bit of a surprise. I would have expected her to be a little bit higher up going into the weekend, or going into Friday, I guess, as someone who we did expect to compete for a podium finisher. 17-year-old Olivia Kerstetter in 17th here. She had the event win and the pig chipper, or the heat win in the pig chipper. Emma Carey sitting in 21st. I mean, she's kind of battled her way back after a last place finish in the bike ride with a 4th in the chipper and the 17th in the inverted medley, which was good to see for her, to see her battle back. And then we start kind of getting down to some surprise names to see the slow down. Again, it is just after day one, but to see Barnhart in 25th, Ellie Turner in 26th, McQuaid in 31st. Really just interesting to see those names there, and especially how they finished in those spots. So having Barnhart in 30th with the pig chipper, again, bit of a surprise. Ellie Turner had a 38th in inverted medley. So again, really just surprising to see kind of those outlier events for them. I guess from the women's side, on the wrong side of the cuts, Emma McQuaid looks to be the only really big name up there that we would expect to be a little bit higher up in the standings. But again, a lot can change over the course of 3 events tomorrow. She does just need to get an extra 3 points to get above that cut line there, so definitely doable. I guess from an overall standpoint, one of the things that stood out to us was just how many throwaway events that we saw from the contenders on day one. So like when you look on the men's side, Justin Medeiros had a 37th. Hoppers had a 33rd, a 38th. Lazar Ducic has had a 35th. Nick Matthew a 33rd. Sam Quant a 35th. Emma Carey's had a 40th. David's daughter is a 34th. Ellie Turner a 38th. Emma McQuaid a 37th. These to have all these clustered in day one is really kind of surprising. Like these are all events they have or similar events that they've seen. So like the bike ride isn't really a big surprise for any of them. Having pig flips and some high rep gymnastics similar to what we saw in 2021. Handstand walk obstacle course. We've seen the freestanding handstand push-ups before. People have been messing with pullovers forever. So it really is interesting to see how many athletes have had a finish outside the top 30. That said, with a lot of those favorites being outside of the top 30, it's not unheard of before. So 2016, Katrin David's daughter had a 38th place finish. She went on to be Fitness on Earth. 2015, Ben Smith had a 34th. 2014, Froning had a 37th. 2013, Froning had a 30th. 2012, Annie had a 33rd. So again, like it's not unheard of. You've dug yourself a big hole, but again, like they're not the only ones. Like everybody seems to be, for the most part, having a bad event. And just interesting that so many of them have put themselves in a hole on day one. So again, that's why there's 12 events. That's why we go through the whole weekend before claiming a champ. It was also good to see Emma Tall back, finishing third in the ride event. She's had a rough couple of years between injury and some judging controversy in 2021. So to see her back at the games and then competing so strongly there, fun to see. Already talked about Raptis. I think that was a really great strategy move to have water on the bike, just to again stay hydrated throughout the competition there. And then I guess the big thing was Emma Carey. Seeing her, like she did get caught up in a crash, but again with bike racing, bad things happen when you're at the back of the pack, and she just happened to get squeezed out at the corner, which it is unfortunate. I guess for me, my takeaway from this is that she wasn't able to pull anybody back. So if she is a true contender for top 5, a podium finish that we kind of expected after North America East, to not be able to pull in the next set of competitors was a bit surprising, just given how early in the race it was and how much time she had left. So something to keep an eye on, especially as we get into potentially some more events that have the high athleticism, like the 5K run, for example. If we have more types of events like that, that don't just rely on fitness but also rely on athleticism, it might can push Emma Carey further down the leaderboard as we go through. On the men's side of the ride, not a whole lot to add. I think it was fun to see that final group of 5 riders really kind of push and have some gameplay on that final lap as they went through. It was fun to see again that running section right before the lead up to the finish line, just to throw things a little bit in the mix. But again, like Koski came up on top, kind of what we expected from him as within that group. But having again Adler and Krenikov is within that top 5 as well, really started to set the tone for them for the course of the weekend. On the pig chipper, looking on the men's side, it was good to see a race between Krenikov and Ducic on the last event. Was happy to see Ducic bounce back after 35th on the ride, so again helped kind of put him in a good position leading into Friday. It was again surprising Adler being so far down the list on this one. He was 25th in the event, so not what I would really expect from him, given he's also somebody who's had a lot of time on the pig itself. Again, Cole Sager in 26, again just really stands out as not what you would expect from those groups. One of the things that did catch my attention, it was right at the buzzer and it was right on the side of the screen, was Nick Matthews doing a final pig flip, and it looked like he hyperextended and grabbed his knee. Obviously not a big impact on event 3 when everything was done on your hands, but something that is worth keeping an eye on throughout the competition. Just see if that knee lingers up to him. And again, starting with the question marks with Sam Quant at 35th on this event, which again, it doesn't need to be a strong event, but you would expect a bit more for somebody who would be battling for top five. And then, yeah, Justin Medeiros, he just looked gas on this one. So considering it's day one, event two, that's not what you would expect from somebody who is competing at this caliber, regardless if it's the reigning fittest man on earth or somebody who just snuck in. Hopefully you can have a good night recovery and bounce back going into Friday. On the pig chipper, on the women's side, the biggest thing, Laura Horvath just absolutely dominated those last set of pig flips. So came off well behind Emma Carey, well behind Annie Thorsdottir going into the pigs. Didn't belt up, didn't chalk up, just hopped down and just crushed it, building out a 45 or 55 second lead over second place Ariel Lowen. So, just absolutely dominating fashion. Her day is kind of a bit muted thanks to inverted medley, which if that's her bad event, if it's out of the way on day one and she can just roll through her strengths, like Laura Horvath won the Alpaca last year, so she's already coming in. She has, I think she was top 5 last year in semifinals, i.e. event 5, which was the legless rope climbs. She had a top or second worldwide finish in event 6 in semifinals, which had the seated legless rope climb. So they're not going to slow her down. She could probably pick up her second event win in the Alpaca Redux in the morning. Good to see Olivia Kerstetter with the heat win in the first round for the women, finishing 5th overall. Just again, it's fun to see these teen athletes be able to compete at this level with everybody else. One finish that it did catch my eye as well was Jamie Simmons. She finished 16th overall, so again, middle of the pack, but it's not necessarily the type of event that would be suited for her. Not necessarily the strength athlete compared to people like Annie Thorsdottir or Laura Horvath. So again, another solid finish for her. Put Simmons in the top 10, which it's good to see, since I guess the last time we saw her compete at the games in person was 2019 when she finished on the podium. Moving on to inverted medley, this one was a lot more exciting than I had anticipated. There's a lot of surprises going into it. I think having the unbroken sections definitely added a unique challenge. It allowed Daniel Brandon to shine, doing what Daniel Brandon does and win the handstand walks events. It's always fun to see somebody who has a wheelhouse event and plays to their strengths and they execute flawlessly. So fun to see her do that. Paige Powers finishing 3rd. It's a good surprise for her. Pushed her up to the top 10, which was fun to see. And then also Bailey Real. She was in the first heat, so didn't necessarily get the limelight that we saw in some of the later heats. And especially within that later heat, some people struggled compared to the races that we saw otherwise. But again, she finished 9th with the heat win there. She was the only one to finish in that first heat, so good to see her. Solid day for her, bumping her up to 14th with 2 9th place finishes. On the men's side, Cole Grieshaber took the event win. Apparently impressive fast as well. Has a background in gymnastics, so he took it quite handily. Took 16 seconds over Justin Medeiros. Finished 2nd. Medeiros probably doesn't get the recognition he deserves on handstand walk events. I was just looking at the stats before we did this. So he had a 2nd here in 2022 in the handstand walk event, which was the speedy skill medley, finished 3rd. And the handstand walk obstacle course in 2021, finished 2nd. In the 100-yard handstand walk sprint in 2020, finished 2nd there. Obviously a little bit of a asterisk beside that one since it was a field by 5, but again, he still pushed Fraser with the his little every 10 yards drop down and hop back up again versus going unbroken. But again, to see him have 4 top 3 finishes in handstand walks in the past 4 years, super impressive for Medeiros going in. So probably not something he gets as much recognition for as he should. And also in that final heat, you saw Krennikov and Vellner fighting for that 2nd spot in the heat. It's good to see them battle through. I don't know if Vellner will be wishing he had those 4 points at the end of the weekend. But again, he's going to have to put some people between him and Kredikov over the next 3 days if he does have a hope. Also, top 5 on the men's side, Bailey Martin had a third place finish in one of the earlier heats as well. So good to see this for the rookie. Good, sets him up for the weekend. He's a fun guy to watch. Fikowski. And then at the bottom of the leaderboard, you had Cole Sager with a 36th place finish and a Jason Hopper in a 38th. Hopefully these guys can reset tomorrow. Would love to see, both Cole Sager and Hopper over the course of the weekend. Would hope that Hopper is able to turn it around since he is right on that cut line now. He's somebody that we'd want to see in the liftoff on Saturday night. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you had a great day of the first day of the CrossFit Games. Should be an exciting day too going in tomorrow. Lots of movement on the leaderboard there. Please hit subscribe if you have made it this far, just so you can stay up to date with the latest. And it goes a long way to helping us grow what we do and get our message out there to more fans of CrossFit out there.